Welcome, everyone, to the Printer Man Playbook podcast. My name is Rusty Pepper.
And I'm Maddie, Alcala.
And together we explore the ever-evolving world of print on demand, from the companies and technology shaping it to the leaders who make it great. And all along the way, we share the strategies, insights, and stories to help you and your business grow, innovate, and get ahead. So first things off, Maddie, how are you doing?
Doing well, Rusty. It's mid-September now, which is crazy. So it feels like Q4 is around the corner, and I would personally love 3 more months of summer and probably 3 more months to prep for busy season. So busy, but good. How are you?
I'm good. It's coming quickly. The year is, what are we, almost 3/4 away done, which is, like you said, crazy to think about, but excited for this show today. We've got an awesome guest. One of our personal favorites is making an appearance, which is exciting. So do you want to go ahead and get him introduced? We'll get on with it.
I do. So I know we're not supposed to have favorites, kind of like you're not supposed to have a favorite kid, but like everybody does.
We all do.
So we all do, right? I mean, I have 1 ton right now, so my favorite's easy, but I've heard from others. So definitely joined by one of our favorites in the industry today. He asked for a WWE style introduction, which I don't know if my voice range will be able to handle, but in the absence of that, Jed Seifert from Stakes Manufacturing is joining us today. Jed, do you want to give a quick introduction?
How you doing? Jed from Stakes Manufacturing. Pleasure to be here. We are one of the largest print-on-demand providers in the country, working with record labels, sports leagues, other platforms, printers. Have had the wonderful honor of working with you guys for years and being friends, and happy to be here.
Good to have you.
Definitely happy to have you. Thanks for agreeing to do this. So let's just start off with some fun, though. We all got connected. We all are in the same industry. We all kind of run the same circles. What is probably one of the funnest stories you've had from being in the print on demand space?
One of the funnest stories I've had. Man, am I allowed to curse on this?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just going to put you on blast then, Rusty, because, I remember one of my favorite nights going out with you. We were bar hopping and party hopping, and then we ended up in a van with about 7 or 8 dudes. I know it was my boys from Hello Print. Your son was there, who's also in the industry. Super cool and awesome. Super special that you guys get to share the industry together. And your son started talking shit to you to kind of show off in front of everybody else. And you said to him with a smile ear to ear,
"Remember, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas."
That was you're really just a beautiful moment that had me in tears laughing. And I look forward to the day that my kids are old enough that I could say things like that to them. So I don't know if that's what you expected when you asked that question, but
No, it was not. As soon as you said, "I'm going to put you on blast," I was like, "Oh boy, I know exactly where this is going." It was an absolute fun night, though.
It was great. It was
What
great.
show was that at? Where was that?
We were in Vegas.
Printing United?
It may have been
Maybe?
Printing United,
or
it had to be. It had to be Printing United.
Yeah,
Printing
it's just
United.
been Printing United there.
Yeah, it was a really fun and crazy night. Yeah.
Speaking of Printing United, Jed, are you going to the show in Orlando coming up?
with bells on, of course. Who does?
Of course. And before we get into that, though, I'm going to make you talk about Stakes Manufacturing, because there's some people probably listening who don't know Stakes. If you haven't and you're in the print-on-demand space, you're kind of living under a rock. But why don't you introduce what you and Vince have built?
So, as I mentioned, like, we're a big print-on-demand company. Our business is really supports 2 business models. One is sort of traditional POD, direct-to-consumer e-commerce fulfillment. You go to one of our clients' websites, you buy a product, automatically the order comes to us. We ship it out to the end consumer. A huge other part of our business is wholesale. So think about it as the same stuff that goes to screen print, but instead it routes to us for speed optimization, cost optimization, and because we're meeting and beating screen print quality with digital. And we're very proud of that. We really push the envelope. We've got our own proprietary file prep process that allows us to really create a digital print that's indiscernible from screen print. So we very much so consider ourselves an engineering and R&D company to really stay at the forefront of technology and push the envelope of what's possible. We're also very well known for the social impact that we make as a business. We have roughly 250, 260 employees right now. 10% of our staff have intellectual and developmental disabilities. This is not charity. This is some of our best workers. Our top warehouse worker at a 40 has autism. Our top shipper at a 25 has autism. My brother has Fragile X, and him getting a job changed his life, gave him the ability to go from a dependent living in my parents' house to an independent living on his own, paying his own bills, work friends, fulfillment, purpose, everything that kind of everybody wants. So, my brother's job changed his life, helped really inspire our mission to help change other people's lives in the same way. And my business partner, Vince Bartozzi, who's our CEO, has been my best friend since we were 5 years old. So he's my brother from another mother and has been like a brother to my brother. So it's a passion of his as well. We also have a school to work transition program with the local county school system where we get 12 interns per semester from high school who get high school credit. They get an on-site job mentor. It's kind of like a vocational training program. And then once they transition out of high school, if it's a good fit for them and a good fit for us, then they get the opportunity for full-time employment. As I mentioned, our top warehouse employee at 40 has autism. He's actually a graduate of that program. We really wanted to take that mission, and really our goal is grand, and it's to change this entire print industry. Because I do a lot of volunteering, speaking all over the country about disability inclusion and sitting on boards for national organizations. And I think what most people don't know is there's these disability employment service providers all over the country who will help you find, screen, interview, onboard, hire, and then train, and then even train your managers how to work with people with disabilities. And it's all at no cost to the employer. So, we kind of saw that the print industry was behind the times. There was certainly folks that were doing stuff, like Lawson and Ryanette and Spectrum Designs, had programs, but it was, generally speaking, kind of an untapped resource. And we're in a time where everybody's challenged with hiring and finding good people. And 1 out of 5 people in the country has a disability, yet 80% of them are unemployed. And it's not because they don't want to work or can't, it's because people don't hire. So we've also helped set up programs at organizations like Rock and Corny and down to small mom and pop screen print shops. And we co-authored a book with the founders of Spectrum Designs and Marshall Atkinson. And it's been we've gone through a couple delays on it, but I actually literally this morning got the final copy. So we're going to go to publish. Goal is to have it published in time for Printing United. And October is also National Disability Employment Awareness Month. So I think it'll be perfect timing to drop the book. The book is called Inclusivity. And you can go to Inclusivity. So just spell inclusivity, but add a K between the N and the C.com. And you can sign up. And when the book gets released, you get a free digital copy. And Printing United Alliance has supported us along the way and has agreed to subsidize printing 5,000 copies to ship one to every single one of their print shop members, physical copies. So our goal is when the book gets released that, the print industry can go from something that's, been behind the times on disability inclusion to really a trailblazer for other industries to follow. And with everything going on with DE&I right now, I'm not going to get political here, but, supporting people with disabilities who don't necessarily always have a voice themselves, I think is as important now as it's ever been. So we're just excited to, be a part of the, the movement and really trying to create the momentum for change. And it's cool. It's really cool to be able to, have a print shop and, you think that you're just throwing ink onto cotton, but you actually then get the opportunity to change people's lives on a regular basis. It makes work, life, it just makes it more fulfilling. And I think it's a really special place. If you come visit our facility, It is not just a tagline or checking a box. You will feel it the second you walk into our building. We just have a very unique, inclusive culture. And that's not just people with disabilities, it's people from all walks of life, all ideas. We really believe everybody should have a voice and a place. And, we should, as managers, leaders, and owners, our goal is to set people up for success, and mitigate their disabilities or weaknesses and really cultivate their strengths. So hopefully we're helping kind of lead the charge on that. And, the industry has been super supportive and it really has had our backs since the beginning. So it's been a really fun ride.
I really appreciate you going in and talking about that part of the business, because it's one of those areas that a lot of people aren't familiar with. Sometimes they're not comfortable talking about it, addressing it, and you go right at it. And I've had the privilege of listening to you talk about it multiple times. And if you have not heard Jed speak, if you're ever able to go to an event where he is speaking about this, you need to go. There's usually never a dry eye in the room.
Yep.
Based on it, and it's powerful. It's impactful. You learn something, and those are all really. It's great to see from the industry standpoint. And I do think leaders across the industry need to embrace that more as it relates to keeping up with hiring and the trends like that. But let's talk real quickly about the systematic changes that need to happen in the industry or for companies to make inclusion easier in the hiring practice. If you, based on the knowledge and experience that you have, can you kind of address some of those?
Yeah, I mean, look, I spoke at all the, I'm speaking at, Impressions and Printer United and other, events, even globally, to a couple in Germany earlier this spring, like the Global Online Print Symposium. I think that, every time I speak, and first and foremost, thank you for the kind words and encouragement and always being supportive of it. It never, never gets old hearing that stuff, and it feels great. Every time I speak, I think people know it's the right thing to do. More importantly, what we're trying to get across in the book is that this isn't about warm and fuzzies. While it's going to give you those, this is actually just good business. The numbers don't lie. Statistics have shown that companies that are inclusive of people with disabilities are actually more profitable, more productive, have better company cultures, have better retention rates. So this isn't just doing something just to feel good or just to help somebody. It's actually good business, right? And I think that every time I get off stage and, from these speaking engagements, we'll get people who tell us about tell me about their kids who've got autism or cerebral palsy or whatever it is, or say, hey, my business wants to do this, but you just gave me an hour crash course in your keynote, but I still don't know where to go. And that's really why we wrote the book. And but it really does boil down to something very simple. It's you just need to connect with a disability employment service provider in your area. And you can find them by either going to your state vocational rehabilitation office, who either provides those services or can refer you to somebody, or you literally just Google, hey, you're in Topeka, Kansas, you Google Topeka Disability Employment Service Provider, and they will pop up on Google just like other hiring agencies would. You reach out to them, they'll come out, they do the hard work. You don't need to know how to hire people. You don't need to know what positions you're going to hire for. You don't really need to know how to do any of it. You just they'll come out, they'll look at all your entry level positions, they'll figure out what the good fit is, they'll figure out, what training your managers need. We set up this small screen print shop, right? I connected them with a local disability employment service provider in their area, and they thought that they were going to fill a part-time role cleaning screens, right? That was what they wanted to fill for. And, the service provider came, kind of did an assessment of the facility, and then was like, well, actually, you have another position open that's for data entry. That's the one we're going to fill. And the owner's like, well, I don't think we can do that. I don't think I can put somebody with disabilities in that, because somebody's going to order 144 shirts from me and they accidentally put an extra 4 in there. I'm going to print 1,444 shirts. I can't, and the disability employment service provider was quick to tell them. And I tell people all the time, it's you put people in a box. Actually, for example, people with autism tend to be more detail oriented than people without disabilities. themselves, right? So data entry is actually a huge position for the disability community, right? And there's other disabilities, and we like to say there's other abilities, right? Like, and they ended up filling that role, and that person's still there to this day. So I think, people just kind of overthink it. And that just kind of, paralyzes them from like actually going and doing anything about it, right? Like they just, and I think people are also worried that they're gonna like make mistakes. It's like, I didn't know people who are deaf I've grown up in the disability community my whole life, and until I hired the first deaf person I've ever hired, I didn't know they didn't like being called hearing impaired. And
what do they like? Is it deaf?
Yeah.
Is that the preference? Just
And to make it all the more confusing, blind people don't care if you call them visually impaired. So, and those terms change. Like what's right to say now might be different in a few years. The point is, it doesn't matter, right? Like if you're doing good and you're trying to hire people with disabilities, who cares if you make mistakes? Who cares? As long as you're open to understanding it and, and learning it. The other crazy part is a lot of companies probably have people with disabilities even working with them today that they don't even know about because they don't share about it, right? So like those state vocational rehabilitation offices, they'll send people to like train your team. So we did like a voluntary training. I think like 80 people showed up, which is beautiful. And they were talking about sort of etiquette of working with people with disabilities, like breaking down stigmas and preconceived notions. And they started off by being like, all right, here's all the jobs in our facility. Here's all these disabilities. What's the least likely to be able to do the job? And everybody picked blind forklift driver. And the guy's like, well, actually, we had a guy with 10% of his vision, so legally blind, and we outfitted forklift with a bunch of rear view mirrors from car rear view mirrors, and he could get a 360 and he got certified. So everybody in the room's like, oh my God, my mind's blown. I'm putting everybody in a box, which we all put ourselves in a box. Like every single person, all three of us, every person is capable of far more than they think they are, right? It's just fact of being human. But what a beautiful moment happened is at the end of this thing, they said, hey, who else wants to talk? Anybody want to say something? And like a couple moms stood up and said they worked for us because we were doing this, because they had kids with disabilities, and it gave them hope. They could go to Amazon, make 75 cents more an hour, but they're here because they believe in the shared mission. But then we had our lead senior applications person stand up and say, hey, I have a disability and I've never disclosed it to any job I've ever had. I barely even disclosed it in my personal life, but you guys have created an environment where, I can feel safe and be myself and be open to it. Like that's pretty damn cool. And like I said, there's other people that probably have folks even in their organizations right now. So, and when you create that environment where people feel open to even say they have a disability or ask for help, then you start getting ideas. Like then your employees actually speak up when they see something wrong that's with your business that they think they can fix, because you create an environment where everybody has a voice and everybody matters. So inclusion's not just about hiring people with disabilities. It's actually about your entire team. It's like most companies my size are getting like they're at 250 people, but I'm getting all my ideas from like 12 to 20 people. Best businesses that are truly inclusive create an environment where they get their ideas from all 250 people. And that's really, I think it's really important. And I think that's sort of the culture that it drives. So it's just as much about the people without disabilities as the people with disabilities.
Yeah, I mean, Jed, I've heard you speak on it before, and every time it's inspiring, and I agree. And we try to do a lot of that at Gooten in terms of actually celebrating diversity and living that. And I know all of us have our own personal views on that, but I've done research on it too. And it's just the reality of diverse teams make better decisions from a business standpoint. And, we have 18 countries and so many different languages and so many things represented on our team. And that's one of the things that I love about my job as well. So just the space for it. I'm curious though, as you've done work in this industry, like, is there anything about print or print on demand that you think makes us really suited to have these conversations? And is there anything that you think holds us back, kind of themes that you've seen?
So I think that's a great question. And that's actually why I started doing this, is because when you look at people with disabilities, and you can't generalize about anybody, but we're going to talk about sort of the majority. people with disabilities find repetition home and comforting.
Mm.
Okay. Routine, repetition, it's what brings peace and fulfillment almost. And when you look around a print shop, 90% of the jobs people are doing are repetitive, same every single day. Like whether I'm folding t-shirts or I'm loading a pallet or I'm putting hang tags on something or I'm pulling, it's literally the same stuff over and over. And people without disabilities, they find repetition monotonous.
Mm.
What happens with people without disabilities is you get ebbs and flows, you get inconsistent performance because people doing great, then they get burned out, and this. Whereas people with disabilities tend to be far more flatline and consistent, but also they enjoy it. So repetition is the positions that have repetition also tend to be the positions that have the highest turnover rate because people get bored, they want to do something else. While again, if you've got disabilities, you find that at home, then you're going to see that people with disabilities have a longer tenure in their positions, a lower turnover rate. So people will go, oh, well, it's going to take me 5 days to train him instead of 3 days for this other employee. Yeah, sure. Took you 2 days, but that person's going to stay with you for years as opposed to be hopping to another job in 6 to 9 months and keep the turnover going. So I think the industry is very suited for it because of the repetitive nature of it. And I want to be clear, repetition, oftentimes, people with disabilities get pigeonholed into sort of low skilled repetition. And I mentioned some of those examples, but high skilled repetition as well, right? Like, and people with disabilities are at all, there's a spectrum of disabilities and abilities, and people are at all different, levels of organizations, right? It could be that repetition is doing things in Photoshop on files that like are incredible from an application standpoint, but you're doing the same sort of things on a regular basis. So I think the industry is very suited for that. I also think the industry is suited for it because there's a print shop literally in every single city in America. And, at least everybody I talk to is still having hiring issues. They still have retention issues, right? Like, so you have this whole population that is an untapped workforce. Also, there's some very archaic laws still in this country that I spend time sort of like lobbying on Capitol Hill to try to change legislation that limit the amount of hours people with disabilities can work because if they make over X amount of money or have over X amount of money in their bank account, that they lose their benefits like Medicaid and stuff that they need for the services that support like their, independent living and things like, assistance and stuff like that. So there's a huge portion of the population that can only work part-time. So I think this industry also has a lot of part-time roles. Also, you started the broadcast by talking about how close we are to Q4. We're already in it, right? As far as I'm concerned. Seasonal staff, like there's all types of these roles that I think are really suited for it. And then we talk about sort of creative hiring, or there's different terms for it, but like creative jobs, which means, let's say my operators are spending, my print operators are spending 20 minutes, half hour a day, refilling fixation or changing ink or whatever it is, right? Let's say that the fulfillment shippers are spending, a half hour a day refilling all of their supplies in their station, right? And then our receiving team is spending 3 hours pulling boxes off of a truck. And so what we'll do is this creative employment model is, all right, well, you know what? I'm going to take that half hour off of your plate. Take that half hour off your plate. I'm going to take those 3 hours off your plate and create this single job that's actually just a piece of all these other people's jobs and maybe doing the menial tasks that they're doing today that aren't maximizing their abilities. So now all of a sudden you've hired somebody with disabilities. They've pulled the time off of, you're taking time off of your other employees' plates that's not maximizing what their skill set is. And the beautiful thing about when you do that is now day one, this person comes in and you think, oh, I got somebody with disabilities I hired, I need to support them. And it's like, oh, actually, they're supporting 5 different people right now and making their jobs easier, making their jobs happier, and letting them do what they do best. So I think that there's just so many different sort of places and roles, and this industry is just very suited for it. And one of the biggest industries for people with disabilities is like traditional 3PLs, warehouses, which we know the correlation. That's half of what being a print shop is, right? So to me, when I was sitting there going, this is back in 2017, I think is when I really had the realization, like, why? Because I was working with the organization that supports my brother. So we work with the NIH and CVS and Hilton and Embassy Suites. I set up the program with Fairmont Hotels. I set up the program with Balance Gym, which is like this chain around where we live here in Bethesda, Maryland, outside of DC. I'm just like, why is there no print shops? It just seemed such a like obvious correlation. So now with this book, my hope is not only do the print shops open their eyes to it, but these disability employment service providers, they're in every community knocking on doors saying, hey, can we help? Now they can walk into every print shop and go, hey, this is proven to work. And here's a book that's less than 100 pages that you can read. That's why it took an extra year to get this out, because when we had the book start, it was 150 pages. It was too much personal stories. And not that the personal stories aren't great, but this is a business book. This is like, Maddie, you're probably too young for it, but Rusty, you'll remember. Shots fired. But you remember like the old Dummies Guide books, right? And
I was the poster child for those books. They said, this is the guy we need to write these for. I'm like, yes, that's for me.
So that's what we wanted to do. Really make it simple, step-by-step process, take the thinking out of it. So the long-winded answer to your previous question was that I think once people have this book, they'll understand all the reasons why this industry is so suited for it. But most importantly, we'll take the thinking, the concerns out of it, and debunk a lot of sort of the reasons that maybe they are avoiding doing it. And then they'll reap the benefits of doing it. And I think it's already started. Like the momentum is real. Like we've got a lot of people coming on board. We've set up a lot of programs, and it's super cool. It really is.
Well, you are clearly a champion. It's something you're obviously, it's personal. You're close to it. I couldn't think of anybody better to lead that charge and to really be the evangelist for the industry to be able to get that word out there. We'll definitely put the link to the Inclusivity in our show notes. We only have a few minutes left, but I wanted to just real quick pivot to peak season and just get your thoughts on the overall industry and what your thoughts are for peak season.
I mean, depends on what part, what aspect of peak season. I mean, I think we're excited about peak season. We've been planning for peak season for 6 weeks already. So for us, because we do a lot of sports and universities and stuff like that, stuff for us picks up as soon as like kids are going back to school, football's starting, all that good stuff. So we are already very much so scaling for the holidays, but planning for the holidays is always the biggest challenge in print on demand. I mean, it's like we literally are pulling rabbits out of hats, and I don't think that people understand just how complicated it is, because you could be you're doing X amount of units per day, and then Black Friday hits, and then all of a sudden you're expected to do 2 to 3 times that a day. And it's like you go up to anybody in any job in any industry and say, okay, you know how much work you did last week? Next week, I want you to double to triple it. And just do that for 3.5 weeks. And then we're going to go back. And it truly is a magic trick. And it is very challenging for us. I'm going to knock on wood when I say this, because you always got to expect the unexpected. But like, we're seasoned veterans in the sense that we've been through so many holidays at this point. We've been through COVID holidays. We've been through, early stage holidays that were crazy when we didn't have systems to support them, and there's a lot of uncertainty too, right? Like everybody's sitting here going, well, are people going to come in high or low on their forecast? Is it going to be a good holiday? Are people actually going to start buying a little bit earlier this year if we run sales, or is everybody still going to just wait till the last minute? And for us personally, we're going, please don't, have a snowstorm in Cleveland. For us, not even snow. It's more so when the snow melt, the ice is what will kind of have issues. And we've had times during COVID, the trucks don't want to come pick up. So like, there's just, you never know what's going to be thrown at you during the holiday, and no matter how prepared you are, it's still going to be a very challenging time. But if you put the right systems in place, you have the right staffing agencies, the right supports, the right redundancy, you can navigate it. But it is truly it is a tall task, but and it's what people judge you on, right? Like, it's easy to be good at. That's not easy. It's hard to do this job and be in the POD space, but it is really hard during the holidays. And those 3.5 weeks are really what decides the rest of your year. Because if you don't perform for your partners in the holiday, they go on in the new year. And if you do perform, they're there until next holiday, right? Because it's so it's. But again, I think we're ready for it. We're excited for it. It's been a banner year for Stakes. We've had quite a bit of growth this year through new client acquisition, current partners doubling down, and sort of after watching sort of like the explosion during COVID, the bubble bursting, us even sort of pivoting and starting to do wholesale and other things to kind of fill those gaps. But it does feel like business is just not just for us, but generally is kind of getting back to normal. I think consumers are spending. The economy looks to be in a good place, depending on who you ask. So I think it's going to be a good holiday, and I actually think next year is going to be even better than this year. So, and Rusty, you and I talked about that offline, that like we were hoping this was going to be the year that it just all popped back, but I think this was sort of like the
Build up.
the crawl walk before we start really running again.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great optimistic wrap up, Jed. Because we're heading toward the end of this year. We all want it to finish strong and then on to the next one. But really, really grateful for you joining us today. Awesome conversation as always. I know the listeners will really appreciate it. As Rusty said, we'll include some links out there to Inclusivity. Excited to see the book, Printing United. We'll add that to my reading list immediately, as I'm sure a lot of other people will. But really great to have you on the show, and we're looking forward to the next conversation.
Always a pleasure. It's I would be remiss if I didn't point out that you and Guten were one of our first partners actually in the space, and I know the exact date that we signed our deal with you guys. And why do I know the exact date when I can't even remember what day of the week it is? I know what date it was because I was pacing around in the hospital parking lot talking to Brian to negotiate the deal a day after my 8.5-year-old son was born. So it was literally basically almost exactly 8.5 years ago and we started that was like year two for us.
Yeah, right after I joined the company. I remember that.
Yeah. So it's it's always exciting it's exciting to have people that you work with that you like as friends and that you can build with, and then you feel old. You're like, oh my God, it's almost been a decade. And Rusty, we're starting to build our own
history.
It is really cool to be able to join you guys both as colleagues and friends, and love what you guys are doing, and hope you guys keep doing it. And so yeah, it's been fun.
Well, talking to people like you makes it so frickin' easy. It really is. It's fun. The friendships you make in this industry are like the best. And you go into these different events, like going back down to Printing United and seeing everybody. To me, it's just like one big celebration. You do some work, but at the end of the day, you're there to celebrate each other, be around friends, people you care about, you respect, and you want to see be successful.
Yeah, I mean, I leave Printing United. People are always like, "Did you see what stuff did you see that was super cool?" And they're asking me about equipment, and I'm like, "The people." That's my answer every time. It's the people.
That's the reason you go.
Yeah, it's why it's why we do this. And it's cool to be around good people, keep good people there. I will say that my only regret from this podcast is that there was a bit of false advertising that we were going to possibly be taking shots tequila after certain questions. Maddie was talking a big game, but I haven't seen any glassware or any agave. So I think next time,
Well,
we'll do it as a celebration. Once the book's published, we come back on, but that time we are going to take shots of tequila while we're doing it.
well, we're going to finish with a fun fact on tequila. Jed, the last time I had tequila, I was with you. Miami. Mm-hmm.
That
You
was
know
good.
exactly what I'm talking about. It's a
That
fun
was
night.
nice.
I don't think I've had tequila since. So we're going to make it the next one at Printing United.
Love it.
I'll buy again because you're right. I was the one talking the big game. So
That
we'll let
must
our
have been the
listeners know.
20 Connect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was after the boat.
Yeah, the boat. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Rooftop after.
Yeah,
Exactly.
We're all fun, really happy.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, I think that's it for today. We'll wrap up. Jed, thanks again for joining us. And Rusty, I think that's it. We're going to call it another great episode.
Another episode. Thank y'all so much for joining, and also to Print Island for hosting and sponsoring this podcast. If you have not yet checked out Print Island, please do so. You can find them on all the socials at Print Island Official. And until next time.
Now, stay tuned for the top takeaways from today's episode.
I hope this has been really informative for a lot of the listeners. But I was just saying to you, you can listen to Jed talk for an hour. I could have kept going on that conversation, but I just thought he's fantastic, and everything he's doing for the industry is so authentic because he really means it. And it's driving incredible change for people's lives and businesses.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, one of our favorites. It just is genuine. What I like is genuine. You see what you get, and that's what it is. And not trying to be something else. And he spoke at one of our events in Berlin early this spring, and I'm telling you, I was looking around the room. There's a bunch of senior people, leaders, owners, and everybody had watery eyes. And it's just listening to the passion. And he didn't have any. I would have been up there with notes. I would have been up there with, everything. Nothing. Just a microphone and his passion, and just went. And we were just kept going for an hour and a half, and it was amazing. And just being able to do that as an operator and to have the trust, the faith, and then execute on it, and then help evangelize that with other businesses. It's awesome for that. I think it's awesome for our industry.
It is, and he sets the example, right? There's so many great people in this industry. There's so many family-owned companies. There's a lot of people that really care in this space. It's one of the reasons I love working here so much. Doing what we all do. And Jed's just an amazing example of taking that care and that passion and making a really great business out of it, but also doing good and helping others and bringing people along. And you and I talk so much about partnership and how much we believe in partnership. And I think, he does too, and lives that every day of it's a business decision, but it's also how can he go out and help other people, even competitors, make better business decisions and bring people along. And it's just an awesome story. So we were super happy to have him. And, I completely agree with his take on Q4 too. It's a crazy thing that we do in the space of we wait all year and then it's, 4 weeks of results, and you either have a good end of the year or you don't. And it's make or break time.
Yeah, it puts a different spin on happy ending for the industry. You really want to have between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's go time. You plan, then all of a sudden it's like we're getting forecasts. You're hoping that the forecasts are right, and then you go. And some are up, some are down, and at the end of the day, it does kind of paint the picture for what's coming up the following year. So I actually am very optimistic about this peak season. I've talked to some other people. I'll be honest, they're not. They're a little bit more nervous. I feel like it's going to be a strong one. I think from an industry standpoint, regardless, even if there's people who don't want to spend, they're going to spend money on people, but they may not spend at high dollars. They're going to spend it on stuff like what we do because it's personalized, it's meaningful, and they can get it at a lower dollar cost.
Yeah, I hope that's the case, and I completely agree. But it's like everything we've seen in this industry in the past year. It's it depends on who you talk to. There have been some companies that have had great growth years. There's some people that are struggling a bit more. Everyone's kind of fighting in to find their new normal and growth path. And I share Jed's optimism, though. I think we'll have a good wrap up to the year, but I'm really, really excited for 2026 on our end.
I know you're definitely ready for 2026. I am as well. There's going to be I think there's some more stuff that's coming out from the industry news, which will be fun that we'll be able to talk about here soon. And yeah, I just that was really awesome to have Jed on. I know we've got a couple other really good guests coming up. We've got Simon Dunn from printed.com. We've got Trevor from Trevco coming on as well. There's just some awesome conversations I can't wait to have. And I know we're going to probably do some stuff from at Printing United as well.
Yep.
So we'll be doing some interviews there. Actually, we'll be part of it. We'll be actually able to tap into the studio that they're going to have there, which would be kind of nice to be able to host some interviews. So make sure we'll put some information in, probably put some posts out about that as we go into Printing United as well. But one more time, I do want to say thank you to Print Island for hosting and sponsoring this podcast. They make it possible. They're doing so many great things for the industry. If you have not checked out Print Island yet, please do. You can find them at all the socials at Print Island Official. And anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
I think you nailed it, Rusty. See everybody next time, and thanks for listening in.
Cheers.
Bye.